Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a great day or a great night. And today is Tuesday, August 25th. Yesterday I said that it was Monday, August 23rd, which was wrong. So I apologize for that. Things are just kind of stressful and lack of sleep, etc., etc. So sorry about that. But I've been noticing these error codes or whatever that's been popping up on my dash, and the service airbag, I know about that. That's been coming on for a few years now, and I just never addressed it. It was a recall, and I was supposed to take it into the dealership and didn't get around to it because other life things were happening, and so I know what that is. But the service ESC, I don't know what that is. And the service traction probably has something to do with the tires. But any of you are knowledgeable about cars and stuff like that, if you could leave me a comment and let me know what the service ESC and the service traction means. And then this orange code over here on the left says ABS. I don't know what that is either. I'm not very knowledgeable about cars. My father didn't really know a whole lot about cars. He did teach me how to change a flat tire or whatever. When I was going off to college, he showed me how to do that, but I've never actually done it myself. But anyway, I just don't know. And my boyfriend Nathan isn't knowledgeable about cars either. So, speaking of cars, he got some bad news about his '07 Pontiac Vibe, the local mechanic shop. They do it through like email and text, and they send you this Tektronic or Tekmetric or something like that. And it had a whole list of things that were wrong with the car, and they stated on there that it is not safe to drive on the roads. It is a safety hazard, and they release themselves from all liabilities if the owner of the car continues to drive it. And they also register all their repairs and everything through Carfax. So they did that when they did something on my car. So it's like, Nathan is like, I'm screwed. And he's like, don't even say it. Don't even say it. And yesterday he was like flipping out. And it was very stressful because the roofing contractor, fascia and window wrap expert crew were here, as well as the boss was here for different parts of the day. And so that was stressful and noisy. And Nathan, he always stays up late. He's a night owl. And I said, they're going to be here early. Whenever you have, roofing or plumbing or whatever, they come early. They, especially roofing contractors, they don't want to have their guys up on the roof or whatever in the heat of the day if they can, if they can manage it. And, I don't know, he's like, oh, I gotta watch, this or that. And it's like, we have to go to bed. They're gonna be here, Anyway, he doesn't listen to me. He never listens to me. Even when he, say he's at the grocery store and he calls me and he's like, should I get this? Should I get that? I'm like, get whatever you want. I don't know. Because whatever I say, he does the opposite. Like I say, yeah, I get it. And then he comes back with, no, we don't really need it. Or I say, no, don't get it. And he gets it. So it's like, why even call me and ask me? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the point of that? Anyway, so yeah. So it's still there at the local mechanic shop. And Nathan had called like 15 minutes before they were going to close. And I told him, I said, you need to call them. You need to call them. And he kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And we couldn't go up there because we needed to stay here while the fascia window wrap, crew was here. And then I guess there was something with the drip edge or drop edge. When they went to put this crew that they had, the first crew that had, the screw ups, when they went to put the roof was put on first, and then the fascia was done after that, and the gutters and window wraps. But he had one guy do the gutters and downspouts, and then the crew that did the fascia and the window wraps and the caulking didn't do a good job. It was very sloppily done. There was gaps and everything. I have in previous videos when I documented, what they did. Anyway, the boss from the roofing company was here in the morning to start out to give instructions, and then he was here for like 2 hours, and he was helping out as well. And then he went to another job, and then he came back later on in the afternoon and helped them finish up too, and checked everything and made sure everything was done right this time. And he said I'm never using that other crew ever again. They did poor work on other jobs as well. So he's like, that's it. He's like, I'm not using them ever again. So, anyway, he said when they went to put the fascia, they damaged the drop edge from the roof. And so that needed to be repaired, on the one side. I don't think they had to do it on the other side. But anyway, so yeah. So he has the roofing people come back. And I was like, oh my gosh, So anyway, but it got done. I'll do a walk around later. But I'm just in my car because, my boyfriend needs sleep. And I didn't want him to hear me talking on my phone. And, he doesn't, he always blames me when he has interrupted sleep. So it's like, I get up anywhere between 7:30 usually, or 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time to take care of Shayla. Take her out to do her business, feed her, go for a walk, water my plants if need be, and I have to do my 2 medications for my asthma. I'm on these 2 medications from my pulmonologist. One is Spiriva, and the other one is Brio. And I can't eat or drink anything a half hour after I do that. And so while I'm watering plants or take Shayla for a walk or whatever, I put the timer on the stove. After I do I have to do 2 puffs of this, 2 inhales of the Spiriva, and I have to do 1 inhale of the Brio, and then I have to rinse my mouth out so I don't get what's called flush. And so then I go and take care of some things while the timer is on. And, it's like, he's like, oh, interrupted sleep. And, the kids are going to school, and there's a school bus that drives up the street every morning. And then they drop the kids off from school in the afternoon. But it's like in the morning, there's people going to work, kids are walking to school, and Shayla barks to let us know, hey, someone's out there, someone's out front. That's what dogs do. And so Nathan's like, interrupted sleep, I've interrupted sleep. It's like, welcome to my life. I've had interrupted sleep for going on probably a good 35 years. I took care of my parents, and my mom had Parkinson's disease, and she needed help, sometimes getting to the bathroom and whatnot. And it's like, I haven't had good sleep for decades, So it's like, I don't know. Maybe I should be more, sympathetic and whatnot. But it's like, who doesn't have interrupted sleep? Who doesn't have interrupted sleep? Probably the rich, the wealthy. But maybe they have interrupted sleep as well. I don't know. Worrying about, deciding what else they want to buy and acquire. Sorry. I shouldn't be like that. But anyway, so, yeah, it's supposed to be warmer today. It was very nice yesterday. Beautiful out, actually. So it was a good day for the fascia and window wrap crew. It was a 3-man crew. They were very nice, and they did good quality work. And it's like, what's the dealio, with the car? I don't know. So now he's faced with, oh, what I was trying to say was, he called, like 15 minutes before they were to, to close their shop, and the guy told Nathan, I've got 4 customers in front of me right now, trying to check out and pay and get their cars out, and then I got to close up the shop. So he's like, I can't talk right now, but I will send you a code so you can come and pick up your car at your leisure and get your keys out of the lock. They have a lockbox system. And, and he emailed, there was no charge, but he emailed him everything. And so when it got dark out, Nathan, checked his email and text messages, and there was no code. And I said, well, the guy probably was busy, closing up for the day and forgot to send it. So Nathan was stressing all night. And then first thing this morning, when I got up to take Shayla out, he got up and he's like, I still don't have, they're probably not going to let me drive the car. They're going to force me and pressure me to have it towed to a junker, blah, 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 all this doomsday stuff. I said, well, call them when they open up and ask. I said, he probably just was very busy and forgot to send you the code. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. Because like 10 minutes later, when they opened up, I think they opened at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And guess what? After 7:30, Nathan got a code to go get his keys and pick up his car. So I said, see? I said, you're stressing out all for nothing. And I said, let's go and get your car. He's like, well, I need more sleep. And I said, well, you don't want them to change their mind and say, oh, yeah, you shouldn't drive this car after all, Or like the situation that happened with his mom with her Toyota Corolla sedan. She took it to a shop in Naperville or Downers Grove or something like that. And she never dealt with it. And it sat there in their parking lot. And after so many months, their policy is, that it becomes their car. I think it was over a year. that it sat over there. And, she never dealt with it. And so they, took ownership of the car and they had it towed to a junker or whatever. Because one day Nathan went to go check on it, because he would check on it periodically. And one day we drove by and he's like, my mom's car is not there. It's gone. And so that forced Nathan and his mother to call that mechanic shop and ask. And they said, and, it's like, I don't know. So I'm like, you don't want that to happen to your Pontiac Vibe that you love so much. He does not want to get rid of that car. He wants to keep it forever. And it's got over 260,000 miles on it, and it's got all these things wrong with it now. And it's not safe to drive. It's like, how many red flags do you need? And when he went, when we went to go buy the new car last year, when there was the threat of the tariffs and, dealerships were not getting, cars from overseas and whatnot, and they were jacking up the prices, and there was less selection, of cars. He was offered $300 for the trade-in value for the Pontiac Vibe. And he tried to haggle, and they were like, nope, we're firm on that, We inspected the car and everything, and the most we can give you is $300. And so he's like, no, I'll keep the car if that's the most you can give. And then he said, I'm going to do Uber Eats with that car, blah, blah, blah. And, move stuff out of the storage lockers that my mom has and try to close up some of them, blah, blah, blah. Well, none of that happened. Well, except the Uber Eats happened, but his mom still has a ton of storage lockers with crap in it, and she's got all kinds of clutter in his condo. You can't even move around in there. So, anyway, but, so he didn't get good news about the Pontiac Vibe, and he was like, don't even say it, and he was like yelling at me. It's like, look, it's not my fault, And I said, you knew this day was coming. You knew there's issues with the car. It was making a new, awful sound. So it's like, it's not like this should have been a surprise. Yes, it is upsetting, but, it's not my fault, And I think he kind of blames me because he couldn't address his car issue because we were dealing with the roofing company crew issue. And so they didn't leave until a little after 6. They were here from like 8:30 a.m. and they left a little after 6 p.m. So, it's like, I'm sorry, but his siding expert guy, because he's so good and does good quality work, he's booked. He's booked solid, and they told me 2 weeks ago, we don't know when we're going to have our siding expert guy come, because he's in high demand, And so I'm like, we had to have them do it, But, yeah. And then the free armoire that's on the other side of town, the people are moving Friday night. So it's like, we have to get that armoire. It's not going to be possible to do it, even if we had the Pontiac Vibe, Neither car it'll fit in. It's too long. And then we went there and checked it out, and she had the wrong dimensions, and she didn't update her listing after she sold the 2 side cabinets that were with it as well. She didn't put the correct dimension for the width. She has their 24 44 inches for the width, and it's actually 48. So it's too wide, too long. We have to rent a truck. You know, from Menards, Lowe's, Home Depot, rent a small U-Haul. I don't know, but that's how we're going to have to get it. And then it's heavy, and most of the neighbors are at work, and most of them are not very helpful. And, you know, Nathan really doesn't have any friends because he's had to take care and deal with his mother, and he has not really had much of a life, you know? And, so yeah, it's like, you know, he's like, yeah, say we rent a truck and we go get it. He's like, how are we going to get it into the house? He's like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to be able to lift it. And he's like, and you can't help because you got the umbilical hernia. So it's like, what do we do? And I said, well, maybe we can ask, the woman's husband if he could help us. And when we went to go check out the free armoire, her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend was there, and he looked like he was a pretty buff guy. You know, I said, maybe we could ask them. He's like, no. I said, you know, it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst they can say is, no, you know, we're getting ready to move, and we got a lot of things to do yet, you know, so, you know, the worst they can say is no, right? You know, if you don't ask, you don't know, you know? And the more questions you ask, the more you know. So, oh, here comes this lady that walks she's got a kid in a stroller and then another toddler, and they're just the cutest. And one morning when I went to go take Shayla out front, they were walking by on our side of the street, on our sidewalk in front of the house, and Shayla's like, "Row, row, 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 row," you know, and the woman just looked at Shayla, and she laughed. She goes, oh, wow, you know. I said, yeah, I said, she's my killer attack dog. So it was just funny, and the kids weren't scared at all. The little boy was like, he's like, oh, look at the doggy, you know. It was like, oh. So, but normally they're on the other side of the street, and they're on the other side of the street right now. And it's not the woman. Looks like it's either a babysitter of some kind. Yeah. It's not the mom. She must have somebody helping her today. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm in the car here with little Shayla, and Shayla's snoozing in the passenger seat. I'll give you a look-see. There she is. There's my little girl. Shayla! Yeah, I'm recording this in my car because I didn't want to wake up Nathan. You know, he's like, I need to go back to sleep. So I wanted to be quiet. And I took Shayla with me because I didn't want her freaking out and barking or anything. Because she doesn't like when I am separated from her. So, yep. But it's starting to get a little warm here in the car. And, yeah, it's a babysitter lady. That toddler boy, he's got to be like all of 2 years old. He's riding on his little big wheel. It's a mini, tiny little big wheel. And then the lady's pushing the other kid in a stroller. But they're cute. They live on some other block. I don't know exactly where they live, but it's like, they're nice people. I'm gonna turn on my car again. And then I'm gonna clear these codes. Yeah, see, that's my mileage. got this car in January or February of 2010. And as you can tell by the mileage, I really don't go anywhere. So, yeah, but it's not 68. It feels warmer than that. So anyway, that's what's going on. If you know what those codes are, if you could please drop me a comment, I would appreciate it. And if you would be so kind as to like and subscribe, that would be awesome. And thank you to all my other subscribers. So thank you very much. And I'm going to take Shayla back in the house and fold some laundry or some kind of quiet thing. I wanted to run a load of laundry this morning because the price was low. We checked it's the real-time pricing for Commonwealth Edison, and so we try to check that first, and if it's sky high and expensive, then we limit our use of electricity. So it's just, it's what you gotta do, But anyway, hope you all have a great day or a great night, and hope that you have nice weather where you are. And if it is nice, get outside, breathe some fresh air. Look at the trees and the flowers and nature. And that's all we can do. All right. Hope everyone is happy, healthy, and safe. Bye for now.